Hello everyone, I'm Skyzy. It's been over a year, but welcome back to another episode in my series on encoded storage tech. The device I have for you today is an accessible temp storage. This accessible temp is 4 items per slice, and just like in a standard display hall, you have access to partially full shulker boxes, and you also have access to chests full of full boxes of each item type. And this is aimed to be used as sort of an alternative to a more standard display hall for your bulk. Now, a temp storage is used to store one partially full shulker box until a second partially full shulker box of the same item type, or in this case, since it's encoded, the same code, arrives in the temp, at which point both boxes are sent off to the output, which is generally to your shulker box merger. Now, most accessible temps that I've seen in Java Edition are 2 items per slice, and this one is 4 items per slice, which is a fairly large advantage since your haul is literally half as long compared to if it was 2 items per slice. The UI of the slice is also quite nice. It's actually very similar to a chest hole UI in terms of the placement of the access points. This slice uses active comparator readouts instead of passive comparator readouts like most restock slices. And the reason why we do that is because there's a lot of cool stuff that you can do with active readouts at the cost of a lot of extra logic in the front end. And to restock this, we would simply iterate through each slice and save a snapshot of the comparator readouts of the codes that require restocking. And then we would save those codes into shulker boxes and use those boxes as essentially the restock list instead of having the list be made in slice. I also have this version of the slice that uses passive readouts if that's what you prefer, but I like the active readouts for the extra freedom that it allows. Now, generally, temp storage is done externally by using something like this disk drive by Monica. This is an extremely good design, and it stores the same amount of item types as this entire haul that we have here. So it is obviously a lot smaller. However, an accessible temp allows for items to always be accessible to the player at the cost of a few edge cases. The first edge case is you have to deal with empty shulker boxes. So if you take all the items out of one of the display boxes, now that's going to be empty, and you have to check for that at the output. Another edge case that can happen is full shulker boxes. So if you fill up a shulker box completely, that's not going to be able to get merged anymore. So you need to check for that at the output. But that's fairly trivial. You can just have a fill level sorter at the output. Now, the edge case that is actually a bad thing and you should be worried about is mixed boxes. So if I had this shulker box and I put another item type in it, this won't be able to get merged anymore, or at least it will break the merger in some cases. And obviously we don't want that to happen. Now obviously we don't want this, but there's also not really any real way to prevent it aside from running the box through your shulker box splitter again, which is quite slow, and we don't want to do that if we're merging our item types as well. Now the slice itself is fairly simple. It's just very similar to an encoded chest hole, but with a few extra features. So we have floppy's decoder on the bottom, and that's used to unlock the slices. So first of all, we can just unlock the slice normally, and now this hopper's unlocked, this hopper's unlocked, this ice has been pushed out, and this hopper is unlocked. So now the slice is accepting items, and we can either input a temp box by sending it here, or we can input full boxes by sending it here or here. Now what we can also do is call the temp box, and calling is done on slice unlock by timing either this rail line or this rail line depending on what you want to call. And I have a demonstration of that wired up here, but the timing is fairly precise, so if you want to wire your own control logic for this, it might be a bit difficult to figure out, but it shouldn't be too bad. Now, an encoded storage can't really do much if it can't accept codes, so I've wired up the full front end of this hole, and I've attached this serial transmitter with the lamps to indicate the code you've inputted. So, let's say we wanted to unlock slice 4 and send items into it. We can do that. So, we would select slice 4, and let's say we wanted to input items into this chest. Then that's on the top layer, and on the left side, it defaults to the right side, so we'd click the side trigger, and it defaults to the bottom layer, so we'd click the layer trigger. And then if we were to send the code, you'll see that after a little bit, slice 4 gets unlocked. And your items will now go into this water stream and be redirected over into the chest. And also our lamp is indicating that the slice is active. Now, these water streams are quite interesting because you'll notice that there's 2 water streams always active. And so we're just using item alignments to align the items to the correct side of the block. So if you align the items to this side of the block here, then they will always fall into this stream. But if you align the items to this side of the block, then they won't be pushed far enough yet, but they will be here and will be pushed into this stream. So I can showcase that now. So if I throw an item into here, and now you can see it's in our chest. So then let's reset the slice. But let's say we wanted to actually call a box from temp. Let's say we wanted to call just like slice 5 and this box. Now, that's going to be slice 5. And it's on the left side, so don't need to click that. And it's on the bottom layer, so don't need to click this. But we do need to read the temp because we're trying to call the box. So we would click this, and now this code will be sent. And you'll see that our slice gets unlocked, and the box gets broken. And then that's going to be sent off to the output. Now, in a full system, while reading from temp, you would only send a code when a new box comes in. And then you would have to check if a box actually gets called at the output. And if a box ends up here, like it did then, you would send both boxes off to the merger. However, if no box appears, and it turns out that there was no box in temp at that point, then you would take the box you inputted and you would input it into the temp. And so if I demonstrate that now, you'll see we have this box. And it comes over here. And then that's just going to go down into the slice. And then boxes get placed on slice reset. So if I reset, you'll see now our box has been placed right here. Now, before I go, I'd like to thank Obi for his accessible temp storage. Because honestly, mine is fundamentally the exact same thing as his, except it's 4 items per slice instead of 2 items per slice. I'll leave a link to Obi's video on his accessible temp in the description, as well as a world download and a schematic of this world, as well as a link to the Storage Tech Discord and to my Discord server. Thank you everyone for watching, and goodbye.